At Mansouri Living, we're committed to innovation in construction, and that's why we were very excited to bring Tucker HiRise on board to build the Perry for us. Tucker is one of the best construction management firms in the country, and I'm thrilled today to have Chris Mallinos, the president of Tucker HiRise, here to speak to us about his experience in construction, his experience in building the Perry, and his thoughts on the industry going forward.
Thank you very much for that kind introduction, Maryam.
Perry was a monumental build. It was boutique in scale, but it had a lot of critical details due to the number of units, the customizations that we had, and the high standards and levels of finishes throughout the building. In your opinion, what was the biggest challenge that we faced as a team throughout the construction of the project?
One of the most challenging aspects of this project, Maryam, was the fact that, a considerable amount of time that's actually put in and a lot of thought in terms of how we're going to accept deliveries, how we get equipment in and out of the site. So I think that was really challenging here. We needed to maintain two-way traffic on Pears Avenue. To the east of us, we've got a public laneway that had to stay open. A lot of planning was involved in how we approach the site with respect to deliveries and equipment. So I think that was one of probably the most challenging aspect here at the Perry.
Building at this scale and the level of finishes are critical and important to the project. How important are the trades that we're working with?
Trades are very critical. And as you know, we reviewed every trade with you to ensure that that particular trade, you had a comfort level with them, and that we felt that they could actually deliver the detailing that this project deserved. There's nothing but tier 1 trades used on this project, and I think that bodes well for the success of it as well.
100%, and it's amazing because it's not just about what the building looks like today, but it's the timelessness and the quality of the materials and the details and how it's built. In 10 years, I think the material will still look the way it does today. And that comes from the early planning and choosing the right people and the right materials to bring the building to life. A critical part of the facade of the project is Clifford Masonry and the attention to detail that they gave in the sourcing of the material and the install of the material.
Clifford's a perfect example. I've been around since the 70s. They're across North America. Won awards through the US as well as Canada on a lot of restoration work and new construction. So again, the attention to detail, they have true craftsmen working for them. And with this type of boutique building, that's what you really need to have on board to deliver this product.
Tucker has done an exceptional job of doing proprietary technology and software within their shop, which is critical in understanding the building and the complexities of the various consultants in terms of bringing in the architecture and the mechanical, the electrical. Can you please speak a little bit about your process at Tucker and why it's so important for the industry going forward?
Started about 10 years ago and invested a lot of time, energy, and money on the technology side of our business, which a lot of people weren't doing at the time, but we weren't happy with the delivery process as it existed 10 years ago. So we thought the only way to deliver a better product was to basically build a digital building. And I think that's a really important aspect of delivering a complicated small project like this, where you can actually model different aspects of it, walk through spaces, see what it looks like, get a sense of those details. And it goes a long way with delivering the type of product that you expected as well as your families. So
we have become reliant now on the software that supports the actual physical work and the layering of materials that comes together. One thing that I'm personally interested in is robotics in construction. Is that something that Tucker has been looking into on various materials and construction methods?
I'm looking forward to the day we actually have a robot superintendent that doesn't talk back to you, but it's probably coming. But I think robotics will play an important part. It may not be within the next 2 to 3 years, but we're seeing it through the procurement process. where the materials that are coming to the site are actually created through a robotic process at a plant that is using digital construction and using a BIM platform to do that. So when we do get the materials on site, they actually fit. They're designed as they were drawing. There's no modifications required because we have as-built dimensions based on what was actually built there in terms of structure. So a lot of that increases productivity with respect to the work that we do. So you're right, it's becoming more and more reliant on software and modeling at the end of the day. And I think that's, the construction industry has been notably the least productive out of all industries. And I think the only way out of that is through really digital construction. And that's what you're starting to see now.
Yeah, I agree. I think the technology can really take it to a whole new level. We've been doing similar, not too much in terms of the evolution of the detail work, drywall and plaster. You see the same details going through historically through to today. And I think there's room now to bring efficiency to the trade and watch innovation go to the next level. Can you touch on how critical it is to bring construction into the early phases of development prior to putting a shovel to the ground? What is it that your team does, and how early do you come in to create and build the projects that you do?
It's really critical that we're there from day one to bring and support both the owner and the consultant group with respect to continuing to move the design forward in such a way that when we get to the construction point, we don't have to say, oh my God, we should have moved this here, or we should have did this. It's all thought about ahead of time. It's all been modeled, and it's going to work. So, you bring on a construction manager early on, as early as possible. When you think about a building on a piece of land, there's a great time to start.
The world changes constantly in construction. And one thing I appreciate vastly about Tucker is you have your finger on the pulse. And you're aware of numbers and trades and what's happening and the evolution of various companies. I really appreciate being able to pick up the phone and call you and say, okay, we have a new site. It's in a different part of the GTA. It's in Richmond Hill this time. I need you in now to take a look at the drawings and give me your advice. And you've been phenomenal at giving it to your team, giving us back the numbers that are in today's world, and understanding as a developer where we stand and integrating that from the beginning into your business model.
Always part of the business model where we just didn't want to build for one developer. We're scattered over a handful of developers, and we too learn from each developer. And then we can, we're in a position where we can share those lessons with other developers as well. So I think it's a win-win scenario if you're tied, if you're involved in the marketplace at any given point in time. We're always aware of costs. We're always doing budgets. We're always aware of, other value engineering, benefits that may benefit particular projects. So it is critical to be constantly involved in the marketplace.
Top of mind for many right now is sustainability. Can you please touch on how Tucker is incorporating sustainability into their work and their projects going forward?
So it starts in design, in terms of when you start designing the building, what type of equipment you're using in the building. So early on, we meet with owners and stakeholders and determine where do we want to be in terms of sustainability on a project. And so we go down through that checklist of items to determine that, okay, this is what we're going to do in terms of sustainability: high efficiency boilers, cooling towers that are highly efficient, better windows, different materials on the facade to reduce heat loss and heat gain. So it starts at day one. It continues through construction when we actually are physically constructing the project. And then right through to the operational side of the business where systems are in place. There's monitoring systems in place where you can effectively control temperatures throughout the building and monitor temperatures and equipment that's not running efficiently. So it starts in design and it ends right through to the operation side of the business. So
On the note you said earlier in terms of the boundaries of a tight site, which is what you're dealing with constantly on a daily basis, is making sure that you're planning the site and the logistics properly to be able to have the space for waste management and separation, and then have the appropriate waste go where it needs to go so that it's recycled and reused.
garbage, oh my God.
Huge.
A 600 square foot unit goes through 3 garbage bins. That's sort of the ratio we're at. So how do we take that down to 2 garbage bins or a garbage and a half? So sorting has become a big part of our disposal program. So we're not sending garbage to the dump sites.
All comes from planning and having a strong structure and team in place to follow those processes. And you guys did a phenomenal job here at the Perry.
Thank you.
There's been many innovations in building materials over the last 10 years. What innovations excite you?
Composite panels excite me these days.
Okay.
Drive around the city and every building looks the same. I think with the introduction of the new policies and green standards, the industry's been forced to look for different materials other than glass. And I think composite panels allow an architect and designer to get pretty creative with what they can do on the facades of these buildings while still maintaining greater efficiencies in terms of heat loss and gain. Composite panels excite me. There you go.
Composite panels. So that would mean you will continue to be excited with the extruded terracotta panels that we're doing at the Bayview and Elgin Mills project?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Because we have that on your plate. It's coming up.
And I didn't even know that. There you go. So I'm excited about that.
Perfect.
Yeah, different
Great.
materials, great.
Chris, thank you so much for taking the time and being here with us today. It's always an inspiration to speak to someone who understands the construction process from being on site and all the details and the knowledge and wisdom about the innovations that are heading our way at a bigger scale. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. The pleasure has been mine.